Hi everyone, my name is Matt Williams. I am a tutor in politics here at Jesus College, one of the colleges that forms the University of Oxford. I'm also what's known as the Access Fellow here at this college. I want to talk today about the slightly sensitive subject of mental health at the University of Oxford. Now, I am going to admit to you that even within the last few weeks, I have received treatment for my own mental health. Now, historically, I would never have been so candid about such a thing. I used to be terribly ashamed that I required any mental health support. These days, thanks to that mental health support, I'm much more open about it, much more willing to just compare it to, say, a physical complaint such as breaking a leg, that, if you have that sort of complaint, you seek help, it's not a big deal. And I tend to think of mental health in similar terms. But how does the university manage the mental health of its students? Well, the headline is that it provides fantastic support, resources, and facilities for its students. I'm going to explain partly why I think the university is so good at supporting mental health, and then I'll explain very briefly why it needs to be so good at supporting its students' mental health. So first of all, why is the university well placed to support students with their mental health? Well, first of all, it takes it very seriously. The university engages in an awful lot of research. It deploys a great amount of resource, and it has lots of people that are responsible for securing the students' home away from home. We've got over 21,000 students at the University of Oxford. This city needs to become their home, and we need to look after them and ensure that their health and safety is our paramount concern, which it is. So how do we do that? Well, the colleges that make up the university, there are 39 colleges that collectively form the university, and there are 6 private halls, and they look after their students very carefully. Colleges have peer supporters, so those are other students that can help with providing someone to listen to any particular concerns you might have. Then there are also professional counsellors, nurses and doctors that are available at all of the colleges, so you can have that sort of support. Also, it's not unusual for a mental health problem to intersect with other sources of anxiety, such as financial concerns or academic matters, and those can be catered to by the colleges as well. So the key thing is that the university and its colleges take mental health very, very seriously, and they lay on the requisite amount of resource in order to support you. A second way in which the university is very good at supporting mental health is insofar as it is collegiate. So the fact that the university is split into 39 colleges and 6 private halls means that it's basically splitting up an otherwise very large institution into much smaller units. So you'd be part of an institution with about 21,000 or so members, but you'd also be a member of a college with only around 500 to 600 members, meaning that any problems that may be besetting you, personal, financial, academic, and so on, you're going to be much closer to the people and the resources that can help you out because you're in a college. That compares, therefore, to other institutions of higher education in the UK, where you would be a member of a large university but may not have quite such proximity to people that can help you with your mental health. Now, that's not to say that other universities don't take mental health seriously. Of course they do. But there is an advantage of being in a relatively small community where the people that are willing and able to help you are close at hand. Okay. Another way in which the University of Oxford is good at managing mental health is the way we teach. We teach in very, very small groups called tutorials. My own tutorials for politics are never larger than 3 students at a time with me. They're usually 2 students at a time. And so I can spot very quickly if a student of mine is struggling either academically or personally, and we can offer them any of the support that they may need. A consequence of these forms of fantastic support to the university is that the dropout rate at Oxford is exceptionally low by UK standards. I've been teaching at Oxford for over a decade, and I've never had a student quit their studies on account of mental health. I've had some students take years out in order to help them recover, either academically or from some sort of personal trauma, but I've never had a student completely abandon their studies to never return. So there's a very strong infrastructure around helping people with their mental health at the university. And it's all tethered to this notion of seriousness. It is taken very seriously. But some would argue that it probably ought to be taken very seriously at Oxford, myself included, for a couple of important reasons. The first of which is that the workload at the University of Oxford is relatively high. So we have 8-week terms for undergraduates, and in those 8 weeks, students would usually be expected to submit about 12 pieces of work. So that might be about a 2,000-word essay or a problem sheet, depending on the subject that you are studying. Now, that is a lot. In a typical British university, you'd be more likely to submit 4 to 8 pieces of work in the course of a single term. So there is quite a substantial workload. The reason that we have a substantial workload is that we want you to get the best possible education you can have in the time provided. But that can, of course, have consequences for people who may struggle to keep up with that sort of level. And so hence we have to make sure that there is fantastic resource available, that we don't push someone so far in attempting to get through the studies that it actually impacts negatively on their mental health. And hence we take the issue with requisite seriousness. The other reason that Oxford perhaps is in need of fantastic mental health facilities is because it's a very famous university, arguably the most famous university in the world, and that affects people psychologically. One of the most common disorders is known as imposter syndrome. It's something that I have suffered from for my entire time here at Oxford. Imposter syndrome describes a situation where someone doesn't feel like they fully belong. They don't feel like they deserve to be at such a famous institution, that somehow they are an imposter, that they will be found out and they will be kicked out for mimicking a real Oxford student. Now, this can be very difficult to manage, and people like myself and many of my students do genuinely suffer from it. They don't feel comfortable all the time in their surroundings. They don't feel necessarily like they belong. Now, we do a lot of work to dispel this because we take a great deal of care in the admissions process. So the idea that someone is in fact an imposter is effectively impossible. But even though I am part of administering that process, I still don't necessarily fully believe it. That's how insidious this feeling of being an imposter can be. And I know that some people, especially those who perhaps are the first in their family to go to university, feel the problem even more acutely. So what we need to do in order to try and support this is provide all the facilities, provide all the support that I've described, but also just constantly be positive about how people should treat themselves. I always talk to my students every term about how kind they need to be to themselves. I'm quite good at sharing these messages. I've never been very good at following them myself. But nonetheless, I think the key message from this video is that mental health is taken incredibly seriously, as you'd expect at a university of this scale, and that we care about our students. We want them to see this university and the city as a home away from home. If you have any follow-up questions, because I know this is a very important and sensitive topic, do please drop them in the description below and I will get to answering them as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you take care of yourselves. All the best now. Bye.